All right, this is the Okamoto 125 hydraulic 3-axis surface grinder. This is basically a 20 by 48 size magnetic chuck on here. The first thing is our chuck itself. Turn it on, and we're locked down. So just a couple of things about the grinder. You've got an over-the-wheel dresser that's actually manual. That's hydraulic in and out, but you feed it down. There is no automatic compensation. That has to be done by the operator himself. Over here is the chuck controller, which has plenty of cable that this can be mounted on the wall or somewhere beside the machine, or you can leave it like we have it on the floor. We're currently wired for 220 volts. Behind the grinder, we'll take some pictures to show you this later, is the coolant system. It's a magnetic separator with baffled tanks. So this thing's all ready to start moving. Now you have a couple of dogs that you adjust on your table to set your stroke. And you see your column starts to move back. This is the machine in the surface grinding mode. Mounted that travels is set over here with these two pointers. Very easy and convenient. You don't have to crawl underneath this back or the side of the machine. You do it right out front here. So you set that for whatever distance you want the column to travel, the wheel to travel over your workpiece. So anytime you want to stop this, you could either hit the table stop, in which case it'll come to a stop all the way over here. And now to start it again, you press this button here. But you could also just shut the table off if you were trying to do something there. So anyway, you have this handheld unit here that you can take off the grinder, and now you have a down feed with a rapid and a very fine movement. Now you have a readout on the top as well as right here. I can reset that to 0, so you see here that's 1 pulse. That's 50 millionths. So it's very fine. And did you get that? We're only changing the last column from 0 to 5 each time. And of course you have your rapid. Now there's also a switch here that you can use right at the grinder itself. But this is pretty handy for coming in here and getting set up. You got to make sure you get it in there just right. Okay. They make it pretty easy to program. Let's just say I used my little hand pulse generator there and came down on top of my workpiece, and it says that I need to remove 10 thousandths. So I want to put this in a setting here for stock removal, which is another way of saying this is what I want to put in there. So I put in 10 thousandths. It goes in here and it goes in the scale up above. So to make a quick grinding program here, we're going to take this out of traverse and put it into plunge, number 1. And then you have this little set of parameters or whatever they want you to put in here, values. You've got a down feed amount, which is what you want your stock increment to be each time, up to a point where you change over from the coarse feed to a fine feed. So you've got a coarse feed, you've got a changeover point, and you've got a fine feed. So you might feed down at 2/10 all the way to a couple of tenths away from size, and then switch to a lesser increment. And then the last button here, switch here, is for your spark out. So once you have all this information put in, and you get your table going again, that's just a hydraulic lockout on that hand wheel there. As soon as you shut the table off, the hand wheel engages in case the operator wants to manually move it. And as soon as I start that table up again, it won't do that if you actually park the machine the way it's supposed to be. When you do what I showed you, you get that, because it doesn't realize it's parked, and when it parks, it disengages that. So anyway, next thing a guy has to do, there's no actual cycle start switch or button. You just have to turn this selector switch over to auto size. And each time now I'm going to take off 1/1000ths on this side of the part, because that's what I put in there. Now I could set it on the other position there, which would feed it on both sides, and that would go pretty quick. So this is what they call the plunge grinding or the slot grinding. Now when I get to, I'm at 1/1000ths away from final size now. Now I'm at 5/10. Now I'm going to feed 1/10 each time. I don't know if you can see these numbers on a video, because maybe you just can't see them. But now it's at 0, and it's going to do however many passes I put in here as a spark out. It's no longer coming down, it's just sparking out, and that was the end of that. Now it's going to go over here and park. So now you unload your parts, and to do another program, you basically have to set everything up again, come down, touch off your workpiece. This time we go back to the stock removal page, and let's say I want to take off only 5/1000ths and a half. All right, we don't want to be here all day. I'm going to put this on surface grinding or traverse grinding and start this up again. And that's going to bring the column back into it as soon as I went to that traverse mode. And now as soon as I flip this control switch from stock removal to auto, we're going to start to feed at the reversal of the column. So you just fed down 5/10. Now I have this feeding fairly fast. The speed that you can feed that column is depending on how much of this valve you have. I have it all the way open now, but you can go less with this and get a much smaller, which you're going to need, a little step. So this is going to take a little bit of time because it's just slower. Now we've got 3/10 left on the part. But it's a nice grinder. They use that same type of programming on their DX series, the smaller surface grinders, 1224, 1236, all the way down to 618. Very reliable. And that's it. It's just going to work its way down to 0. And it's going to do a number of spark out passes, empty spark out passes back and forth. And then the table is going to go park just like it did on the plunge grinding cycle. Now what it considers as a full spark out pass is kind of unknown really. It's certainly there and back and there and back again. So you got to kind of figure it out. So now we're at 0. There's not going to be any more down feeding. We're just going across the workpiece, evening everything out, what they call spark out. Now I have it set to just 2. You can set it all the way up to 5. Well, it's quite a bit. You know, you wouldn't be going this fast. The table probably wouldn't be going this fast. You have a little patch of steel mounted on the front of the wheel guard there. So you can put an indicator here to check stuff, and check your chuck. It's nice to have. So there you go. And that's it. That's the cycle. That's the Okamoto PSG 125. Thank you very much.